So I realized that I've never actually done a walk around video on my own bike. Like, this is specifically my, and not inventory and not whatever, not part out, not anything. This is my bike. And this is pretty much, as far as I know, this is my forever bike because I cannot think of how I can make a better sv650. So it's staying. So let's talk about what I have done to it, and the previous owner, my friend Chris, who also did a bunch of really nice things to it, and some of the trade-offs of having the world's most idiotically overbuilt SV. So this is an 08, theoretically. It is an 08 motor and it's an 08 frame. With 2003 subframe and 2003 bodywork. So that's all swapped over. Now, on the bodywork side, we have the lowers. I did a video on installing those. They're hanging on RNG no-cut sliders. You can kind of see the bracket in there. There's a install video on that. Also, the reason I don't have the delete, I have a seat cowl, but I find that I ride with a backpack a lot, like physical, like, you know, on my shoulders backpack, not passenger backpack. And a lot of times the bottom of the pack will actually scrape the seat, and I don't want to scratch up the cowl. And I like having the handle because that lets me move my bike around really easily. So yes, I have the seat cowl. Yes, I very rarely run it. I guess if I were going to a Cars and Coffee or something, then maybe. Now, also on the visual side of things, we have those are hammer grip tank grips, and these are the carbon fiber protectors. I had a guy a few years ago make like 10 pairs of them, and he kind of doesn't want to do any more, so probably never going to see those again unless somebody else decides to make them. And then I have these Hyosung GT650 mirrors. They're pointier, and I feel like they fit the look of the bike a little better. Also on the styling side, I have a powder-coated black 03 subframe. So this is a steel subframe, so I can run the tall seat the little higher up. It's kicked up a little more. I have this hugger that has a trade-off. More on that in a second. I have blacked out plates back here and a blacked out carrier. Those are all powder-coated, and blacked out carrier for the brake. So also tail tidy, integrated tail. I don't actually like integrated tails, but it was already on there, so I kind of left it on there. And the tail tidy that I have doesn't have any accommodations for turn signals, so it is what it is for now. If you notice, my plate's kind of kicked over to the side. That's to make space for the M4. Some of the trade-offs with having an overbuilt bike. For example, because I have a 3rd gen rear wheel and I'm running a slightly wider tire, it bites the hugger a little bit. So so it's a 160, but like just because of the way it's like lipped out with the 5-inch wheel, 5-inch wide wheel, it seems to rub the hugger a little bit. Another thing that I kind of had to compromise on, and this was actually, I think Chris did this, in order to run the Brembo Master, it needs a cutout, otherwise the fairing activates the brake. And another thing that's a compromise is to run the Vortex clip-ons. They are too low for the bodywork, so under full lock, they actually the pods scrape the tops of the fairing, which is okay because it's not the most mint fairing anyway, and I like the feel of them, and they feel exactly like my race bike, so because that's the same ones that are on my race bike, except these are tightened. So a little bit of a compromise there. The other thing is this has the same exact motor build, give or take, as my race bike, which is great for, like, you know, hooning around and making sure that I know how to ride a bike. Give or take 85 horsepower. But this is not an all-weather bike. The airbox is cut, so it doesn't like rain. It doesn't like it doesn't really it runs a little warm because oil cooler is deleted, and you know, more power. So that's a little bit of a trade-off. Anyway, so back to other things that are done. Inside there, give or take 85 horsepower. It might have been 85 a couple of years ago when it was built. Board throttle bodies, cams, light and flywheel, all that happy stuff. Full M4 system on it. GB Racing side covers, and yeah, and a Power Commander 5, I think. Well, it's in there in the seat, obviously. Can't really run a built motor without a map. So on the control side, we have Brembo RCS 19, Motion Pro Revolver 2, or is this the old OG one? No, this is just the Motion Pro Revolver. Vortex clip-ons, obviously. Vortex levers. Thank you, Vortex, for the rider support program. GPR steering damper. Once again, it's not really super necessary on a street bike, but kind of, you know, when you have all these things, you can just kind of end up throwing them on. Gear indicator pro. This is not the bike with the LED swap on the cluster. That bike actually was sold a while ago, so this is still the stock colors. Maybe I should actually pull it out and have my electronics guy do the, like, blue or red LEDs for the backlight for the gauges. I don't know, maybe. Like I mentioned, third gen rear wheel. To make that happen, there's ABS bracket and caliper, or perhaps that's a third gen bracket. I don't know. Either one works. Vortex rear sets. Little hose for the brake fluid. This is my brake reservoir. Vortex banjo pressure switch for, you know, so I have a tail light, rear brake light, and suspension. Also suspension. So in the front we have stock legs, so it's technically super sport legal. I mean, this bike is, if I wanted to, I could probably throw some bodywork on it and go race it, because it is identical to my actual race bike. So these are Zoran TWF Racing cartridges in the forks, inside the forks. We have Galfer, I think it was Galfer, braided lines. We have, I think those are Galfer waves on the rotors. And in the rear, there's a Penske shock. So this rides, well, I wanted to mention trade-offs. This rides just like my race bike, which makes it really, really, really awful for street use, because it frankly is just bumpy, because the race bike is oversprung. This is oversprung. In order to get it to turn, I have to really push the nose. I really have to bury the front and trail brake. Otherwise, it kind of just wants to track straight. And the biggest trade-off with having something like this is, I know if I get hit, or if I, you know, had to lay her down because of the clip-ins, insurance will really not, believe how much money is sunk into this bike. Like, it would cost me probably easily 10 to 15,000 to do one of these again, and there's no way an insurance company is going to cover that. So it kind of makes it it makes me almost hesitant to ride the thing. I almost I'm really happy riding it. I'm not too worried about how to lay her down or anything, but at the same time, it's one of those, like, great, I built it, now I have to worry about it. I almost never do drills on this thing. I will always grab some other bike, just because, once again, drills, higher risk activity. I don't feel like replacing Bodywork. So this is, unfortunately, as brilliant as it is, it basically gets no action. It has 11,000 miles on it, or like 10, whatever it is. 10982, and I probably end up getting maybe 200 miles a year on it, because just other bikes are less scary. Not in the scary, like, it's not scary to ride. It's just, I don't want to hurt it. So I tend to, anytime I'm doing anything performance, I'm using another bike. Anytime I'm commuting, I'm using another bike. So yeah, this kind of just ends up hanging out and looking pretty, and being an exercise in frustration. Like, hey, this thing is great, this thing is quick, let me go ride it. I don't feel like cleaning it afterwards, and we're gonna go do some dumb shit where I don't want to have to pick it up. So I don't know. Anyway, thought I'd kind of share some thoughts on having this bike. Another interesting thing, because it is basically a race bike, that is a speed sensor delete, which makes no sense because we have a speedometer. And instead of that, there are these magnets and this Hall effect sensor, and then there's a speedo healer to make the speedometer actually read something meaningful. That is basically just because build 2 race bikes and then put Bodywork on one of them. So yeah, kind of a weird side quest in this. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the rant. I don't really get to do that much right now because I'm a new kid, so I'm at the shop for like 15 minutes at a time packing orders, and that's about it. But luckily I got to get out today for a little bit while my parents are babysitting. So anyway, there is my 2008 2008, I don't know, whatever it is, sv650.